Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, this is the last episode of January. Oh boy, we already are in 1 month in 2023. Oh boy. That is, something very interesting to note. Now, it's actually not that much interesting to note because it's not really anything of note. It's just a thing that happened. Okay, so before we get into any of the news things, I just want to mention one small thing. Hold on. Oh, there it is. My Patreon. Now, you know me, I don't really like to shill, like, my Patreon a lot. You know, I don't like to do, like, the whole, like, e-begging thing. I do say, like, support me on Patreon at the end of all my episodes. You know, just so make sure that you have the option. And I don't usually try to do, like, a lot of shilling. Like, you know, I don't try to do it as much, but I do have to be one little bit real and a little bit bleak a little bit. I just gotta say this, because this is just something I have to say. I was gonna say it in, like, this big, long, like, depressive tweet thread, but I was just like, I don't really want to do that, because it's like, because it makes me be two of the people that I hate a lot. Like, the people on the internet that are like, please give me money, give me money, give me money. But then also the people that are like, oh, I'm so depressed, don't ask why. Like, fishing for attention. Like, it's like, I don't want to be either of those people. But then it's like, I don't really have any other outlet to say that. But anyways, I gotta be very bleak. It's almost been a year on this Patreon. Almost 2 years for this Patreon, I think. Yeah, 2 years for this Patreon. And this is the peak that it apparently has. Look, again, I'm not trying to be rude. I am not trying to be like, I am trying my very best to not be rude, to not be mean, to not do like any of the things. But it's like, I know there are a lot of you that supposedly watch me. There are a lot of people who supposedly follow me, that supposedly care about the things that I do. Like, supposedly they do all this stuff, but we ain't really seeing much. I ain't really seeing much of it. The heck is up with this? But it's like, I ain't seeing much of it. Like guys, there are 829 of you at the very least. And only 3 of you can bother shaving something, and only, like, it's $6 a month. I mean, again, I am trying my best to not be that guy, but I have to be very abundantly clear. I've been doing this for 5 years almost, and the height of support I can get is 3 people giving me $6 a month. That is apparently the height that I have. I'm not trying to say, like, every single one of you give me the $10 donos or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to say that. Like, I'm perfectly content with a lot of you just giving, like, $1 a month. But it's like, and yeah, like, $6 a month, and it's like, you might say, wait, this doesn't add up. $6 a month, shouldn't it be $7 a month? It's like, you know, Patreon takes a cut, but well, I can just show you the insights if you want. Let me see, post 30 days, all time. Let me see. This one's risky because it might include my bank info. Yeah, right here, I'm just going to put a big black text on this section of the video so I don't have my bank info out there. But it's like, yeah, I don't see that much from the Patreon, and the only reason I'm bringing this up, the only reason I am bringing any of this up is very simple. If these numbers don't start going up, then there's no point. Like, legitimately, there is no point. If these numbers don't start going up, then I have to do, like, very drastic things. Like, I would have to go away from making this content to, like, get actual financial compensation for labor. I would have to do a lot of things that I know if I did any of those things, you guys would probably go and, like, cry, bitch and moan in the comment section. But it's like, again, legitimately, these numbers gotta start going up. Otherwise, and, like, there are other things I could do. Like, I could start making, like, episodes private. Like, I've gotten to the point where I've legitimately thought about going on strike. Like, yeah, legitimately, I wanted the LARP that bad just to go on literal strike and just say, unless my wages go up, then no content. But then I can't do that either. It's like, again, like, I'm just saying, very abundantly clear, if these numbers don't start going up, then I don't know what's up. To distract from that very big thing that I just dropped, let's get right into the news. First, a very interesting thing happened. Alvaro Colom, the former president of Guatemala, dies at 71. Former President Alvaro Colom, who has governed from 2008 to 2012 and supported a United Nations anti-corruption mission that was later investigated him, died Monday. I deeply lament the death of ex-President Colom, said Guatemalan lawmaker Orlando Blanco, leader of the center-left National Unity of Hope. Like, you see, and the current president, Alejandro, whatever his name is, expressed condolences to Colom's family. Now, this is very interesting for a couple of reasons. Like, one, Alvaro Colom, like it said, former president of Guatemala. I was going to say Colombia, I'm stupid. But what's interesting is that he governed under the National Unity of Hope Party, which is a social democratic Christian left type group. Like, it's basically the main center-left force in Guatemala, though it has kind of shifted a little bit. Now, what's interesting is that their leader is Sandra Torres, and what's interesting about her is that she used to be married to Colom. And what's more interesting is the fact that she is currently running for president in her own right. See, there she is. And as you can tell by the fact that I just went through a lot of people to get to her, there are a lot of people in the Guatemalan presidential election. And in fact, this isn't the final list. These people are expected to announce pretty soon. Like, these guys are expected to announce, like, before this podcast comes out. And these two are potential people who might run. They might, but I don't know. But as you can see, this one is going to be the interesting election. And it's also interesting if you go to my website, because you'll see something interesting there as well. Because I'll just say this about Sandra Torres. Sandra Torres and Alvaro Colom are sort of very different. She's shifted more to the right throughout her political career and has become more of like a, I wouldn't say third positionist, but you know what I mean. The people that are like, she's economically left-wing and, like, I guess technically Christian democratic to a degree. They're somewhat Christian left, but it's like she shifted it to be a bit more right-wing, at least on social issues. But and it's just sort of like more focused on her. Like, sort of like a movement specifically around her, which has led to, like, you'll see it when we talk about the Guatemalan presidential election, because that's a very interesting one. We'll just move on to the next Latin American news story, because this one is also pretty interesting. Yeah, just move that just because. Actually, this story is kind of useless, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, Argentina and Brazil are discussing a common currency. Don't hold your breath. Now, this part is actually interesting because the don't hold your breath part, well, technically it's true, but it's also like, you've seen many, like if you actually been paying attention to the news when talking about this particular subject, you'll notice that a lot of the ones are very badly worded. Like, for example, one of the biggest ones is the fact that there was one, I don't remember, I think I liked the tweet from it, so I think I can find it. So let's see. Tweets. I think I like the tweet of it. Let's see. Did I like it? Did I retweet it? I'm pretty sure I liked it because it was just something funny. Yeah, this is something funny. Dang it, where is it? I didn't like it? What a ripoff. But it was a tweet that it had a similar version of the story where it's like, Argentina and Brazil make a funny currency or something. It was like something that was like, really? It was like the dumbest way to word it. It was intentionally worded to be in a negative light. Now, let me explain a couple of things about this. You see, Brazil and Argentina and other Latin American countries, they've been like especially in the left-wing sphere, have been very open with the idea of trying to break away from the close relationship that Latin America has to have with a bigger national power, whether it be Russia or the West. Particularly the West, because the West has very, let's just say, rigid history in Latin America, especially in these two countries. And these two leaders, this is how broad the idea is. These two are the people that would originally never even think of the concept, but it has gotten so mainstream in these countries that the center-left guys are now pushing for this idea. You see, like, Hugo Chavez was the original, like, proponent of an idea of something like the Patria Grande, or the grand homeland, something that would be along the lines of, like, forming a new, like, EU. They want to form, like, a union with Latin American countries, and as such, Argentina and Brazil are going to try and move forward with a common currency. And on paper, it's really good. Everyone likes that idea. But there's one problem specifically for the countries chosen. You see, Brazil, there probably won't be an issue, but Argentina will, because Argentina is going to be holding an election this year, and I don't even know if Alberto Fernandez is going to run in the upcoming elections. More, like, and even less likely is the chance that he's going to win. It's very depressing that this is probably never going to happen. And another thing that is very depressing is the fact that there are a lot of people who brought up this fact. Gaddafi actually tried to do the same thing. Like, he wanted to make a Pan-African Union that would do this very same thing. And many people say that that is one of, if not the, reason Gaddafi was killed. So people are saying, like, keep an eye on those two. Keep an eye on Fernandez. Keep an eye on Lula. You know, make sure things don't happen for, like, them. Like there isn't a CIA murder. But there's not much else I could say because, again, sadly, it's very unlikely that it's going to happen. If it's going to work, it has to have a lot of other people to get involved. And even though this person doesn't like me, Ben Banana said it, that it would take a long time to transition each of their economies to function to be with this new currency. So they'd need to have consistent leaders that support this currency. And what would happen is that almost immediately a right-wing leader would try to change things back to the way they were. So, because that's always the thing. Right-wing leaders in Latin America love to have a close relationship with the West. And left-wing leaders have historically tried to distance themselves from the West now. But anyways, speaking of Latin America, there's another Latin American story, and this one is very depressing. This one shows very much how this is bad, how bad things have gotten in Peru. Peru's belly-guarded president urges Congress to bring the 2024 elections forward. So for those who don't remember, long story short, Pedro Castillo tried to do a self-coup to prevent a coup from the right-wing Congress. The right-wing Congress said, no, we coup you, you're impeached, and you're arrested now. And then Dina Boluart has decided to, she's the vice president, so she became the president, which has made her the 5th president in Peru in 5 years. And then she's basically formed a very close relationship with the right wing, and a lot of left-wingers have rallied against her. And then she sent people to go kill them, and now she's facing a genocide inquiry. And one of the big things that has been a push was to them to get new elections moving forward. And originally the elections were scheduled for 2026 because that was when Pedro Castillo's term would be gone. But since he's no longer in that term, they've decided to move things up. Maybe move them up to 2024. But now she's planning on moving the elections to December. That is... oh boy. That is very bad if they're literally at the point... wait, what? To bring forward election schedule for April 2024. Oh, okay. So that was when they were originally scheduled. Well, actually, like I said, they were originally scheduled for 2026 and then scheduled to be in 2024. And now they're going to be scheduled for even less time. Literally, can they even get an election up to that point? Even with Castillo, I was expecting that he would, push for an election, later. He would push for an election, at the very least 2024 would be, when I thought that he would push for the election. And, again, we have no clue how this is going to go, because, nobody's speculating about who is going to run in this upcoming election. There's really no route to go. Peru is just... things have gone from bad to worse. Things have gone from bad to worse. Very bad. There's really not much else I can say about the Peruvian debacle because it's just such a crapshoot. And hopefully, things will get better for them. So anyways, speaking of things to get better, these are a group of people that I don't want things to get better for. The Blue Democrat Coalition. You see, apparently the Blue Democrat Coalition did have some issues, and now they have shrunk even more so. So apparently, here's what happened. See, ever since the, Joe Biden thing, with the Joe Biden thing, it appears that the Blue Dogs became even less popular than they were before. The Blue Dogs have already been, a little bit of a... they've already had, a very bad... They weren't really that well liked, honestly. They used to be well liked, and then ever since the Obama years, the Blue Dogs have just become this weird thorn in the side for the Democrats. Despite everything the Democrats try to do, this group just keeps on pushing things away and making things worse. They won't let... and as you can see, they've had a little bit of a steady decline for a while. See, 112th Congress was not their friend. And then they've had, very steady declines. And some of it is not necessarily, the fault of, just the caucus itself. But it's also due to the fact that, because one of the things with the Blue Dog Coalition is that they do really well for, specific areas in the country. Here's the Blue Dogs for this. As you can see, they're somewhat even, but they're kind of mostly focused in somewhat of the South. And they're for the Like, there's actually a long history with the Blue Dog. Like, the reason why the name of the Blue Dog Coalition is the Blue Dog Coalition is because of the term Yellow Dog Democrat. As in, Democrats who, even though they are still heavily conservative, they will still vote for Democrats, even though, like, the Democrats have broadly shifted leftward, and they would vote for a yellow dog as a Democrat before they even consider voting for a Republican. And the Blue Dog Coalition basically represented that group of people, like that small group of people who were still big conservative Democrats. Like, even more right-wing than, like, corporate neoliberals, like, explicitly conservatives. So here's what happened that made a lot of issues. You see, the Blue Dogs were actually expected to make some pretty big gains, and by pretty big gains, I mean not that many gains, honestly. They really only were expected to gain 2 new members, Wiley Nickel and Don Davis. But again, that was sort of like a thing with the Blue Dogs for a while. They would make like a small amount of gains, and then they would like broadly lose a lot of members, either because their members would try to run for another office and fail or get redistricted. But what ended up happening is there was a dispute because half of the members wanted to change the name of the Blue Dog Democrats to the Common Sense Coalition. The reason why is because that term, as I mentioned, Blue Dog Democrats, has a specific notoriety for, like, a specific area. Like, the yellow dogs are primarily in the South, and the term Blue Dog sort of represents that as well. And another thing is, like, they saw it as, like, typically white, male, Southern Democrats. And there were some people in the Blue Dog Coalition that didn't necessarily like that. Don Davis, one of the newer members from North Carolina, I wonder why he doesn't like the idea of being associated with a bunch of, like, white Democrats from the South. And another one, David Scott. I wonder why. And another one, Mikey Shkreli. I wonder why she doesn't want to be, like, associated with a bunch of white dudes from the South. Abigail Spanberger. Like, you see, like, these are people that were from, like, areas that didn't typically represent the South. California, Hawaii, Illinois, New Jersey. And people who didn't represent, like, that specific section of the population. And they wanted to change the name to the Common Sense Coalition. But thankfully, there were a lot of this group of people who were members of the Blue Dog Caucus said, no, we don't represent for common sense. We will be called the Blue Dogs forever. And you might notice this little A next to Wiley Nickel. That's an interesting thing, because Wiley Nickel is technically not a member of the Blue Dog Caucus yet. He was endorsed by the Blue Dog Caucus, but he has actually yet to apply for membership, and due to this debacle, it is very unlikely he will. Like, it's so hilarious that literally all of, like, the caucus divided itself in half just because of a stupid name. Like, this is just funny. Like, I find this hilarious. Oh yeah, speaking of funny things that happen, I guess we'll move on to the last story. This isn't that much prevalent. Okay, so the No Labels Party has submitted a petition for party status in Ohio. In November 2022, No Labels submitted a petition to be qualified as a party for Ohio in 2023-2024. Secretary of State sent the petition to counties for verification earlier this month, and the party submitted almost twice the required number. It is extremely likely the petition is valid. Okay, so it's technically not, like, official yet, but they have applied for ballot, like, they have applied for it. Now, here's the thing. I've already figured out what the No Labels strategy for 2024 is. Because here's the thing. If you remember, I actually made a video. Well, let me see. Wikipedia. I've already made a video about a group that is very similar to No Labels. You see, No Labels is currently led by Joe Lieberman, and Larry Hogan. As you can see, they're sort of like they're representing the centrist, quote unquote, group in the whatevers. And they're trying to basically paint themselves like, oh, we're going to work across party lines and whatever. They've led and created the Problem Solvers Caucus. And, just generally, this is a group that really wants to paint itself as like this, oh, we're going to work against the partisan gridlock and get things done. Now, hear me now, quote me later. Here is their plan. And this is very interesting considering something interesting that's happened. See, Kirsten Sinema, as you remember, she recently became an independent. And she's slated to very much possibly lose in the Senate race that she currently has. My theory is this, and this is another thing that shows my theory. You see, she has been courted by the Republican Party, and you know who else has been courted for something related in 2024? Joe Manchin. Let me see. I think he's also on the Republican page, because that's part of the thing I want to mention. Because I think, let me see. Joe Manchin should be on here somewhere. But Joe Manchin has stated, I think it might be in his 2024 thing. Joe Manchin, he has stated that he doesn't want to caucus with the Republicans in the chamber. But I think, they explicitly stated, I think there was a version of this story where it said, they floated the idea of him running for 2024, not even as a Democrat, not just as a Democrat, but as a Democrat, as a Republican, or as an independent. Hear me out, quote me later. They want a Sinema Manchin ticket. And that is what they're going to try and do. Like with Unity 08, who wanted to push for Bloomberg to run for president. And like how Americans Elect tried to push for Howard Schultz to run for president. They want that specific person to run for president. And if they don't look like they will run, they won't run. And that is basically the only thing that they are vying for in 2024. That's all I want. And if they can't get it, they're not going to try. So this is basically just a bunch of neolibs that want to waste their money, which I guess is fine, but, I'd prefer people spend money on good presidential candidates. Not you. Anyways, let's move on to the main topic of this video. The CN Values Quiz. What is the CN Values Quiz? CN Values is an entertainment political position test developed on the produced based on 8 value source code in order to make the test more suitable for Chinese people. After referring to several other tests, the test questions were reorganized with the current Chinese context as the background. Now, as the fact that this was here before, this is a test that was made for Chinese people. And yet I'm going to take it anyways. One of the reasons why? Look at her. Look at this. Look at her. She's interesting. Also interesting to note, she has an ANCAP flag here, an anarchist symbol here, and a hammer and sickle here. Notice how she doesn't have any symbol for them. Interesting. Now, basically, this is one interesting thing that I want to do, because I want to see how political tests are, not just in an Anglo-Western sense, maybe see other countries' political tests to see how they go, and what better country to start with than China? Because why not? It's got a cute little, I guess it's a Donghua girl. Although I guess technically it is an anime girl. But, whatever. Test instruction. You'll be presented with a list of opinions. Click the button to select your opinion on each position. The purpose of this test is to assess your political views. That is, what politics should be rather than what it is. Please ignore the feasibility of some topics at the moment. If you are unsure about a topic, please follow your first feeling. If you have difficulty understanding a certain question, try to think about the opposite of the topic. The test is completely implemented by the front end. All codes are open source, and we will not collect any personal information from you. Well, that's nice. And I'm pretty sure they only included that warning because it's a Chinese test. because people really are afraid, like, oh, the Chinese are stealing our information. Disclaimer: in order to ensure discrimination in this test, highly extreme or offensive content may appear, and the views do not represent the views of the creators. Alright, let's get to it. We have 101 questions. Let's get to it. I am willing to give up some personal freedom and rights to help the country fight terrorism, such as strengthening airport security. Now that's a very interesting one, because on the surface level you say strongly opposed, but they chose like one of the most smallest ones. But I guess broadly I'll go with be opposed to. The management right of an enterprise shall belong to all workers. Now it could be because the question is, oh, okay. Because like I was confused for a second. It's like, wait, what? No, but like you'll notice like it said 101 questions, and it's like, wait, now it's 100. It's saying that 100 questions remain. This is question 2, and 100 remain. Okay. I would say, at the very least, you know what, yeah. I guess I'll say strongly agree. Some schools and universities can be private. I'll say strongly opposed. During the process of house expropriation and demolition, the government has the right to reject excessive demands for compensation for demolition. No. If you're going to demolish someone's house, compensate them fairly. Countries at critical moments need political strongmen. Let me just briefly, like, I know what you're gonna say. I thought this was very simple, but it's like, just to make sure. Notable strongmen. I'm pretty sure this is not what I mean. There it is, political strongman. List. Here's some good examples. Because I just wanted to see if it included some, like, bad people or good people. I think for the most part, it just includes a lot of bad people. Like, I mean, okay, we got some exceptions, like Lenin and Castro. See, this was basically my only point. I wanted to see if it included, like, Castro. I would say for the most part opposed, but, in the occasional exception, a minimum wage should be established to allow workers to live with dignity. Absolutely. Homosexuals should be treated equally with heterosexuals in matters such as marriage, parent-child relationship, adopting, or childbearing. Strongly agree. Now, if there is no governance by the state's machine, then the society will fall into chaos. Strongly agree. If the government's polices have brought benefits, policies, but not polices, the people should be grateful to the government. Ooh, that's a very interesting one, because this is like a moral question, and this is like somewhat on brand. Like, look, things got better. You should be grateful for us. I'll put neutral only in the sense it's like technically yes, but it's like that sort of like seems like authoritarian sounding. All forms of state should be abolished. Not necessarily, no. A market economy without regulatory constraints is best. No. For the sake of economic growth, some damages to labor rights by the market and enterprise can be acquiesced. No. In the face of public crisis events, such as terrorist attacks, even if it will cause panic and riots among the people, the government should not control information. I guess partially, but again, I only say partially because it's in some exceptions, I guess it would make sense. It is unacceptable for lawyers to defend heinous and condemned criminals. No, everybody deserves a free, fair trial. Monopolies that naturally form in a market economy should not be cracked down on, strongly opposed, and all monopolies, even if faced with the pressure of population expansion or population aging. Whether to have children or how many children to have is everyone's freedom, and the government and society should not interfere, including encouraging births. Pooh. See, I know what this is getting at. This is getting at the one-child policy. But honestly, I'm going to say strongly opposed, not just because, because here's an objective fact about the one-child policy of China. You see, because there are a lot of people who, when they talk about the one-child policy, they're like a very like misrepresentation of how the policy is. You see, the one-child policy, like when I was originally talking about the one-child policy, it was like, oh, they just, if they had more than one children, they just killed them. It's like, no, that's not necessarily what happened. But what did usually end up happening is that the one-child policy would end up becoming only partially enforced. Only enforced in the sense that if you were basically seen having multiple kids, it's not like they would kill you or anything of the sort. It's that you wouldn't have to do a lot of things. Like, one of the big things was that paperwork for children, like, one of the big things was that a lot of children just became undocumented people. And there's, like, a big generation of children in China that technically do not exist in the legal system because they were not filed by their parents. Like, the parents still raised them. The parents didn't murder them or give them away. But they just didn't, like, register them with the Chinese government because they would, like, if they did, they would probably get in some form of trouble. So strongly opposed. No regulations on who can have kids. Private ownership of the means of production should be abolished. I'd say at the very least a little bit agree. All businesses should be confiscated. Neutral unsure. Wage labor is the exploitation and enslavement of workers by capitalists. Yeah. My country's capital should actively go out and export abroad. My country's capital should actively go out and export abroad. Let me try retranslate. Let me try just directly translating that. I guess this is like the Marx definition of capital. So, I guess private ownership of some industry sectors is acceptable. Neutral, unsure, because I guess technically in some aspects yes, but I'm not going to say yes because, you know, I do broadly believe that it should be like kept at an absolute minimum. No, wait. It said industrial sectors. So maybe like a little bit opposed. In the face of conflicts and riots caused by violent demonstrators, the government should stop the violence and restore order. No, because usually that's not true. Usually it's overblown. And usually it's just an excuse to crack down on dissent. Taxation is theft of private property. No. In the event of a major event such as an outbreak of war, the country can suspend the Constitution and laws, exercise emergency powers, and take all necessary measures. No. The retirement age should be lowered. Yes. When a small group of extremists attempt to overthrow the state and establish a new totalitarian regime, the government should vigorously suppress it. I guess a little bit, yeah. I mean, they're saying like very explicitly, like, this was a group of authoritarians, like reactionary authoritarians, that wanted to establish a totalitarian regime. So I guess, like, stopping that at the very least. The images of political leaders and religious gods can be used as objects of smearing in literacy and artistic works. Absolutely. Workers of the world unite is outdated. No. The financial industry and real estate industry are moths of society. Yeah. Everyone's rights to autonomy on the internet should be guaranteed. Anonymity, yeah. Yeah, broadly. You know, with some exceptions. Like, I mean, when I say some exceptions, I mean like very limited exceptions. Speech that challenges national sovereignty and social stability does not fall within the scope of freedom of speech. No. I don't mind a one-party system if the party I support is in power. No. Traditional medicine is more trustworthy than modern medicine. No. Abolition of police and army, policing and defense with private property, private security companies, militia is feasible. Okay, so abolishing police and the army and policing with private militias is feasible. No. As long as my life is getting by, there is no need to care about politics. No. High welfare raises lazy people. No. It is necessary to control overseas internet information to a certain extent. No. The domination position of the Han nationality in China is in jeopardy, and the Han civilization needs to be revived urgently. So my guess is the Hans are basically, like, they were the dominant force in China, or like they were like a prominent nationality, like they're like the biggest nationality of China. So yeah, they're basically like the dominant group, and like they were like the largest ethnic group in China. Okay. So no, any ethnic like that is no. Especially if they're the majority. The majority is usually in the wrong. Like, if you're talking about an ethnic sense, like, oh, we used to be this, but now it's like we're shrinking, that's usually signs of some form of ethno-nationalism. Outsourcing and offshoring are necessary evils to increase productivity. No. Unless you are terminally ill, it is an irresponsible act to give up your life. Neutral, unsure. And before you ask, no. Like, this is a very complex moral issue that I don't even necessarily know if I should even give my takes, because my takes would probably be hot, but it's like, You know what, just for the sake of being like moral, like, yeah, a little bit. For the sake of I feel weird just giving my answer to this question, but it's like, you know what, yeah, I'll just say strongly agree. Legitimately, if I say any answer, this is going to lose. If I say it's not irresponsible, then people are going to say you're encouraging people to commit suicide. If I don't give a strong enough opposition, if I don't give a strong enough anything on this, then it's like, if I give like a slight agree, again, I just have to put neutral or unsure. I don't know. For the sake of environmental protection, the resulting substantial increase in living costs is acceptable. I'll put agree. The institution of marriage should be abolished. No. The construction of small communities, such as trade unions, churches, and clans, can weaken the state's control over society and ensure social freedom and indigenous social envelopment. Is this just them mistranslating indigenous? Oh, no. Okay. Construction of small communities such as weaken states' control over society and ensure, I guess? Global warming is an imminent threat. Absolutely. Business can extend working hours as long as employees agree. I mean, it's like, I will only put strongly disagree because it's like, it will be sort of forced on coercion. You know, like, if the boss says we're going to extend hours to this, you don't necessarily know if, like, are you saying that just to give me a warning, or are you actually asking my opinion on this? The law of survival of the fittest in nature should be introduced into human society to promote human evolution. No. Like, I mean, I'm not a social Darwinist anymore. I'm like, no. That's just capitalism talking. That's capitalism trying to ruin science for me. It is necessary to reform firms to produce in proportion to consumer demand. I guess. Sexual minorities, LGBTQ, are not normal. Nope. Being a housewife and a mother is a woman's greatest skill. No. Migrant workers and migrant workers in cities. Okay, this is a weird wording. It's probably just because of the translation. Migrant workers and migrant workers in cities should enjoy the same treatment as locals in education, medical care, and housing. Absolutely. It is acceptable to divide people into rich and poor. No. China is on the right path, the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Absolutely not. China is, oh boy, China, Russia, and the US, they all suck. They all legitimately suck. In order to avoid election chaos such as money, politics, vicious competition, and clique formation, elections should be conducted under the guidance of the higher level government. Okay, that's weird. That's a weird way to word the question. Again, it could probably be because of the translation. In order to avoid chaos such as money in I would assume money in politics, vicious competition, and clique formation. I guess. No, wait. I'll just put neutral unsure because I don't know if this is like trying to like coerce me to give like an answer to support a one-party dictatorship. So no. Under the hegemony of the United States, no matter what China does, it will be regarded as barbarian. Only by destroying the hegemonic system of the United States can China be justified. Shock. The Chinese quiz is giving me questions that make me very much want to agree with China. I guess under a technicality, yes. But it's like, I'm not trying to give anybody just hegemony in the world. I don't want the influx of foreigners to the local area. They harm the interests of local people. Strongly opposed. More foreigners. Countries should take the initiative to defend their own interests and values, and do not rule out the use of force when necessary. No war. Employees may not be fired unless justified. Absolutely. Consensual and safe sex between adults and their freedom is their freedom regardless of their marital relationship. Absolutely. Many ills in modern society are caused by abandoning tradition. Nope. Mao Zedong is the greatest man in China since modern times. I wouldn't say the greatest. I mean, he's alright. I mean, there are a lot of other people from China that I think are better than Mao. You know, Bruce Lee. Well, actually, Bruce Lee is technically an American, but it's also technically Chinese. It's like he was born in a American city that it basically had, it was basically ruled by China. So it's like, I'll put neutral or unsure. Strikes are an act of laziness and selfishness that cause trouble to others. No. Tariffs should be imposed on imported products to protect domestic industries. Yes. Rather than waiting for potentially dangerous people to commit crimes, it is better to arrest them in advance. Opposed slightly because, like, again, some exceptions. If you have like without a shadow of a doubt, you can prove that a person is going to commit like a terrorist act on a certain day. It's like, yeah, probably stop them before they do it. But it's like, is a slippery slope to a degree. Basic industries relate to people's livelihoods such as medical care, energy, and public transportation should become public utilities. Absolutely. Humans should not eat or enslave other animals. Slightly opposed because the world was created by borders between countries and regions should be abolished. Neutral unsure. Foreigners living in our country should have the same rights as their own citizens. GMOs should be applied on large scale to increase agricultural yields. Neutral unsure because, you have to do a little bit more testing, I guess. The prevalence of individualism has plunged society into a crisis of atomization, referring to the state of individual loneliness and disordered interaction due to the disintegration or absence of the most important social connection mechanism in intermediate group in human society. I just learned about this, I just learned about this right now, but I think I do understand what they're saying. They're saying that due to how our society, has, a hugely individualistic perspective, it has put people in a strange way, that they feel that their own personal problems are truly their own personal problems, and they don't want to seek help or move on and be part of a larger group. So yeah, I'll just say strongly agree on that. I think that's good. The two categories of social structure, male and female, should be dropped. Agree only in the sense that I believe add more. Without your country, you are nothing. Multiculturalism is a threat to civilization. China should fully implement the social system of the West, mainly the United States, learn from Western culture and promote Western values. No, not necessarily. Like, they should do whatever they feel is right. Like, if China wants to do something, if they want to implement some things from the West that they think are good, if they want to implement some things from the West that are bad, that's different. Like, that is, I'm not going to force a country to be like, you have to act like this. Every country is different in their own unique way, and that's what makes the world good. People everywhere have the right to self-determination. They should freely determine their political status and development, their economy, society, and culture freely. Slightly agree, yeah. Nuclear energy is an excellent source of energy if well maintained. I'm only putting no because it's like, yes, technically it's good if you maintain it well, but it's like, people have not had a history of maintaining it well. Productivity is the root and core of social progress, and basically anything can be solved by developing productivity. Neutral and unsure. Modern society needs to revive the thoughts of Confucius and Mencius. Mencius. I never heard of Mencius. I want to briefly look up who this is. Yeah, I assumed he's a Chinese philosopher. Mencius. Menqi or Mengji was a Chinese Confucian philosopher who has often been described as the second sage, that is, the second to Confucius himself. We all know Confucius. Well, actually, I think that's very bad because, like, when people think Confucius, they think of this. But, you know, Confucius looks like this, apparently. That's one weird thing I want to talk about history, because, like, we're really just trusting people. I don't even know necessarily what Confucius or Mencius says. To continue what I was going to say, I was like, we barely even know if these... Like, it's funny, because, like, all these big historical figures, they could have just been completely made up, and we would never know. That's just something interesting that I find. There are inherent IQ differences between ethnic groups. No. Pornographic content corrupts the social atmosphere and is necessary to crack down on it. No. Death penalty should be abolished. Yes. Extinction of species due to human actions is unacceptable. Absolutely. In all scenes, including cultural products, where my country's map appears, officially declared correct country's territory must be used. Ooh, I know what this is getting at. They're getting at, like, some maps, including Tibet, or Hong Kong, or Taiwan, inside of China. But it's like, neutral, unsure. I can't really determine that. Feminism has gone too far. No. Schools should teach more about our values and traditions. No. Primary and secondary schools should offer compulsory courses in systematic sex education, including multi-gender education. Yes. Agricultural production should maintain biodiversity even if it reduces yields. I guess agree. Extraction of fossil fuels is necessary. No. In order to develop the economy quickly, pollution first, treatment later is desirable. No. Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of the times it's literally just pollution first, treatment later, and then we kick the later to a later date, to the point where it's like, we can't even do anything to handle the pollution that we've done up to this point. For the sake of great social change, the great collapse of society must be greeted. No, I'm not trying to get society to collapse just because that's literally like super authoritarian. Like, that's literally what they said in an X-Men movie. Everything you've built will fall, and from the ashes of their world, we will build a better one. In the final analysis, conflicts in international affairs are clashes of civilizations. Neutral, unsure. The patent system should be abolished. Yes. Instead of maintaining a unified state, China should be divided into a series of small countries based on geographical, ethnic, language, and cultural criteria like Europe. I would just say probably not. The Three People's Principles unified China. All right, let's see. What's the Three People's Principles? I'm pretty sure it's a Maoism thing. Oh no, wait, never mind. It's a political philosophy created by Sun Yat-sen as part of the philosophy to improve China made during the Republican era. Oh, so this is like a Taiwanese thing. Wait, this was a guy who was like provisional president of the head of. So yeah, he was like, this was before on, and formed a brutal alliance with the Chinese communists. But he did not live to see his party unify the country under successor Chiang Kai-shek. Oh, okay, so this was like the guy right before him. Okay, so what were the principles? Minzu or civic nationalism. The principle of Minzu is commonly referred to as nationalism, or people described as a nation rather than a group, persons unified on purpose. 5 races under one nation. The principle of Minquan usually translates to democracy. Principle of Minxing. I mean, I guess technically it unified China, but I guess for how long? That was space colonization is a good solution to the depletion of Earth's resources? No. Chinese people are born with national inferiority? No. Science has no borders, but scientists have motherlands? I guess. No, I'll just put neutral on sure because it's just like, All prior censorship of cultural products should be abolished? Probably, yeah. Technological progress should not change society too quickly? Nope. Oh no, wait. I just saw the freaking JonTron thing where he talked about like AI, so it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah. I'm sorry to see some of the issues. The oppression of women is the most profound form of exploitation and the basis for every other oppression. I wouldn't say the basis of every other oppression, but like, yeah. A small group like Freemasons, Illuminati, XX family secretly and consciously controls the whole world. No, and I'm gonna close my eyes so I can be surprised at my results. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I have another question. Marijuana should be legalized. Absolutely. So again, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Economy, socialism, politics, liberal, society, progress, environment, ecologicalism, Republic of China, feminism, Pirate Party, communitarianism. Closest ideology is democratic socialism. Democratic socialism emphasizes the necessity of democracy in a socialist society. It opposes the Vanguard Party model and does not agree with the radical anarchist tendency. Representatives Eugene Debs, George Orwell, Milovan Gilis, Jeremy Corbyn, and Ming Shi. This random Yugoslavian guy. I guess it makes sense that they would know who this guy is. So I just want to briefly look up who this Ming Shi is. The history of Ming history. So I guess this is just like a faction. So that includes Pirate Party. That's interesting. What's weird is, why does it have freaking Hillary Clinton? Why is Hillary Clinton's logo here? And this is just really weird. Like, these ones make sense, the flags, but it's like the freaking Attack on Titan things, Hillary Clinton's logo, and ecology. The Republic of China. So it says that I'm close to like Taiwan, essentially. Feminism. I'm a feminist. I like the Pirate Party, and I'm a communitarian. So yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when a future video comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, or consider supporting me on Patreon. And as I said before, very much consider supporting me on Patreon.